Welcome to FightHub podcast number 1 with guest Oleg Taktarov. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate you taking the time.
Well, it was just a great way for me to escape from a little labor in the yard.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. I don't like to work either. So yeah, I appreciate you reposting my video that I made of you the other day. Do you get to watch the old fights often? Do you think about it often, or does it seem like it's just 2 lifetimes ago?
No, now I got a second wind in a way because Russian media asked me to do my comments, and not that it was a pleasure all the time to commentate this, because we got the new kids on the block, and they got some very interesting fans. So with no understanding what politeness is and what's the normal communication with a man who's like 30 years older, but it's okay.
You're talking about the Russian media guys?
No, we got people from the south, and not every one of them behaves nicely, but it's okay. So that's the only reason why I stop sometimes on giving my review of the fights. But normally I do this, and I predict every single result for past 23 years. So it's another reason why I don't do this often, because some people can gamble, and it's too easy for them.
I hear. So you still watch a lot of fights. Do you track the UFC? You know what's happening. You watch every weekend.
I know pretty much what happened in the heavyweights and Johnny Jones. John Jones division and the lightweight and the one that below that Peter Young is fighting in.
Welterweight?
Yeah, Henry Sikuda.
The bantamweights.
Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, he's retiring. He's retiring a little early. What do you think of that? Do you think guys stick around too long, or do you think it makes sense? Because he's early 30s, I believe.
He's 32, and it's a time when you feel you had it. Maybe he finally fall in love. Maybe he finally learned how to enjoy everyday life. Maybe he started too early in the wrestling, because it's basically the same thing.
Right.
Contribution, you got to be devoted to stuff you do, and you don't live like a normal human being. It's like a sports prison life. And maybe he started wrestling from age of 6 or 8. It's also does it. I'm not sure how people who can play basketball or soccer since they're 4 years or 5 years old, like Messi, for example, how they can still handle it. I would get sick and tired of it.
Sure. I guess that's what led you to your second career in acting. Is that what it was? Like you were kind of just done with fighting?
Yeah, I done with my fighting before UFC. I got some award in Russia, and then people want me to leave. They want to get me to the pension
Gotcha.
plan. With the veteran at the age of 26, because I won every single competition, and I guess the promoters got tired of it, because it's heavyweight. That's where you can bet more money, and I would always win. So it was not much fun. And when I got to the United States, I want to go straight to acting, but it didn't work like that, because you got to have a working permit, you got to speak English, you got to have an acting education. And altogether, it has taken for me a good 3 years to get first result. So, but fighting and the seminars did help money-wise, and just communication-wise with the people, and speaking in front of a big audience. It also big help. And I did seminars every weekend. I continued fighting for a while. That was my mistake, actually. I should stop right after you. When you're not focused on this game, you shouldn't fight. It's my opinion.
Makes sense. So how did you get involved with the UFC? You were obviously fighting already, but that was kind of just an up and coming thing when you started fighting. I think was it UFC 5 or 6 that you got involved?
Yeah. I had a video with me from Russia, and I've shown this video to Art Davey. And the previous history about it, I was staying at my friend's house, and he was getting married. And I guess he was also sick and tired of me, with me sleeping on the floor in the kitchen or just somewhere near the entrance. His girlfriend was sleeping over in his house, and he said, "Oh, look, he was nice, very polite man," and said, "Hey, I don't think your acting is gonna launch anytime soon, so maybe you should fight for a while. You're gonna win anyway, so you can become famous, and then it's gonna help you to your acting." So I followed his logic, and I said, "Hey, maybe you're right." So I went to UFC. First, I went to Oleg Gracie Academy. So I grapple with all the instructors, and I have no clue who I grapple with. Only I know that Oleg Gracie was faster than me when I came to visit, talk to Art Davey, because his office was across of the road, and Oleg Gracie was right there. He was talking to Art Davey. And I didn't even, I took shower, so it took like maybe 3 minutes, and I was like, wow, Gordon is here. And he was sitting there in a gi, like, what's wrong with the guy? And I thought he wouldn't say, Art David, how great I am. But Art told me later that in a few years that you were third person who was saying some crap about. First guy was a Tyson, second was a Karelin, and third was you. So that he advised me not to sign you up. And at that time, Gracie family lost 25% of the company, and our Davey, of course, took his own decision, made his own decision of signing me up, vice versa. Right. So I guess he was right. So.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting story, because I did read that they kind of tried to keep you out and you somehow got in anyway. But I guess they couldn't really deny the skills, right? Because you had the leg locks and they really didn't.
I came to Gracie Academy with one request, one question. I say, hey guys, let's do exchange. I help you with leg locks, and you help me with acting, because you know everybody.
Oh, that's interesting.
And at that time, I didn't speak any English, and I had a friend with me, a Russian guy who trained a volleyball team in Mexico, and he spoke some Spanish, and I guess it was a strange conversation. Half Spanish, half Russian, half Brazilian, have something, and eventually Gracie didn't understand what I want. They thought I just show that I can beat anyone, and I sign up for the UFC and I win Oleg Gracie. The idea of Oleg Gracie fighting in a super fight with Ken Shamrock actually came from Gorion, because he knew that Gracie and me would take a forever fight. Actually, with the Ken, he was fighting for forever too. But Gracie would have no chance to win me on the ground. He understood it, and he didn't want me to enter to the UFC.
Oh, okay. But so do you still?
We decided to separate us. So I'll be fighting in the championship tournament, and they created super fight for him and Ken Shamrock, because Ken couldn't go through 3 fights. He would get tired after the second one, actually even after the first one. But for one fight, he was great, and everybody had been happy. So That's how
You
it started.
you trained with Ken for a little bit, didn't you?
For 2.5 months or 3 months or so, we met at Guy Metzger Academy in Dallas, Texas. And in Dallas, where I was staying, because of my new manager, Buddy Albon, where I was kind of forced to sign up with. Ken had a seminar, so I said, hey, it's great. I can help you to prepare yourself for the Oleg Gracie fight, because you need to get your skills on the ground to the little bit higher level. And I don't have any sparring partners in Texas. One day I grappled with 8 guys in judo club, and I didn't get any resistance.
Yeah.
Shit, where I'm gonna be training? And Guy Metzger at that time was not a good grappler. Alex Andrade was a great boxer, but also very little skills on the ground and just the grapple itself. So I didn't know what to do, honestly. I didn't know how to prepare myself, and plus I felt bad in Texas. It was, a nice place in terms of people. I loved the people, but it was so humid for me, and the food I could accept it. That it was so hot, and chips, salsa, and all the hot stuff. It doesn't work for me. And I lost weight. I was 185 pounds. I broke both knees because I guess my joints were so weak at that time. Anyways, and when I got to Northern California, to Texas, to Ken's Lions Den Academy, it was a different food. It was a different atmosphere. It was a bunch of great guys. Of course, I would win them, but at least I would get a good resistance. And I continued training 3 hours a day. In the evening. Actually, it would be like 5 hours a day. And what I liked also, I changed my training schedule with Ken. He would lift heavily on the morning and grapple and do boxing, MMA at night. And I did it once like that when I was doing sambo. I couldn't get the result in the sambo. I could win everyone at the training section, but at the competition I would be too tired. And one day, when I was signing up for a college, I took like 6 months off, and I was just lifting weights, running, playing soccer, a little bit of grappling. And I got to the new weight division. I became like 90 kilograms, which is almost 200 pounds. And I won Open Russian Sambo Championship. And I beat everyone with it's called 0 points. Basically, I win. I would throw someone and take them on the ground and finish them up. So the 5 fights, same story. And guys were much stronger than from previous weight division, but I didn't feel any resistance. I was so surprised. Maybe guys were weak. They were saying, "Oleg, you are an animal. When you take somebody grip, there is no way you can pull the arm out.
Right.
When you take somebody on the ground and you get the hold, you don't want to. You want to just give up because you can't breathe. You know how strong you are. So, and I was at age 22 at that time, and I was thinking, hey, maybe I should repeat this. And me and Ken were lifting weights for 2 hours. Then I would run for 30 minutes stairs or mountains. In the evening, 3 hours of MMA stuff. And I got my weight to 110 kilograms, which is 230 pounds, even more, and only muscles. And I felt great. I felt strong. My knee got much stronger, and I felt great. I finally found a woman there. At least, I started feeling myself more home, because you kind of adapt yourself for American life.
Right.
Because UFC 5, I just hated my guts. I hated everything around. I was asking myself what I'm doing here. Why did I come? What's the point of? So UFC, I came to win or die. That was the idea. So there was no way I could give up. One thing I was not prepared for high altitude. There was a little mistake. I mean, or just a lack of knowledge about high altitude. But I guess it worked because the fight was more exciting to watch, more like a Rocky style fighting when both guys are passed out. Because later, when I was fighting Ultimate, I already knew that I have to train in the mountains, and I had 3 fights a night, and I felt all right. I spent 1 hour in that, 5,000 feet, same as Casper, Wyoming. Same thing, but I didn't pass out. I was okay.
Did you have any idea who you're going to fight at all? Like, when you fought Dan Severn or Tank Abbott, did you have any idea who they were before you walked in there?
I didn't watch fights of my previous, my next opponent, because there was my habit when I was doing Sambo Judo, because you don't want to get, you got to focus on your next fight, not the next after. So you don't watch the fights, which you might gonna watch the guys. You don't watch the guys you might gonna fight if you win your next battle.
I see.
So, yeah. So it was.
You still train it all today, or not really?
Yes, I do. I train, but I've been playing soccer 3 times a week, like a typical soccer player. So too much, 2 hours. 2 hours per day. And working a lot in my yard and lifting a little bit, and
So you were one of the early leg lock guys, at least for Americans. Have you kept in touch with like what John Danaher, Dean Lister, those type of guys have done over the years? Are you familiar with those names?
No.
Yeah, those are guys. Danaher is a Renzo Gracie guy, one of the teachers here. He's really evolved the leg lock game to different levels. And I'm sure you've seen a little bit of that, guys just getting better in Russia, I would imagine, right? Just as far as Sambo and different entries into the legs. How do you feel about that? Is it something you train today? Is it something, have you evolved as far as like the way to get into the legs and finish with heel hooks or knee bars?
I've been teaching seminars all over the place. I've been in every single state besides probably Nebraska and Montana. I've been doing seminars all over the place, and I've been mostly doing leg locks.
Okay.
And just a few days ago, I was doing an interview for a Canadian guy who was at my seminar 25 years ago. And he said he won so many competitions with leg locks. I taught him.
Nice.
I got my knowledge from 2 most famous schools, ground schools in Russia. One is Estevez, another is Yekaterinburg. And I was just very, very fortunate with the teachers. And with the age, I started kind of creating my own stuff. A lot of moves I created from scratch pretty much, but it's still not from scratch. Of course, I had some knowledge in the way you can build things up. So you've got to have fundamentals, and you can build up some fancy stuff over it. But speaking of leg locks for Brazilian guys, I think Rickson Gracie was the first man who puts himself on a cover of a black belt doing leg lock. And then it was kind of okay, because at first our Brazilians hated leg locks.
Right.
They didn't know much about it. Maybe that's why they hated it. And you could do it at the jiu-jitsu competition, but everybody would whistle if somebody goes for leg lock. And even the one guy who would always win, who did my stuff, he would win, but people always whistle. He goes for leg locks, people whistle. He somebody, then top next one, the top of people whistle, he wins. And maybe on a third competition, people stop whistling, they start watching what is he doing.
Right.
Rickson was the first who tried to show like leg locks are okay for baby DJ. And, it was a funny story. I remember I watched, I saw the picture on the cover, and I count 8 mistakes in this technique he was showing, but it's just for the camera. Of course, you gotta look pretty, not technically right. So, but I guess that's all right. Everybody are great guys, and after years, you just like everyone. You communicate with everyone, and we're all human beings and love each other.
So you fought with Rickson or at the same event, Pride 1. Did you have any interaction with him?
It was a Henzo.
Well, you fought Renzo, but Rickson was fighting at Pride 1, which you also fought at, right? Did you have any interaction with Rickson?
He taught me a lesson of who you are in this life in a very simple conversation we had. I was a star. It was right after UFC number 6. People treated me, imagine like I had one night I had to visit some VIP entrance, some opening some movie or something, and Michael Jackson had 8 girls taking picture with him. We had about 40 guys. So that's how popular this stuff was. And when I first time met Rickson, I thought I was at the top of the world. And he said, "Congratulations on your success on UFCs." So it doesn't mean I thought I had a success in life. That's it. I mean, life is finally turned my face towards me, and that's it. I'm on top of the world. But actually, it was just UFCs. Success at UFCs, not nowhere else. It was a great sentence. It's very simple. Nobody would probably understand the deepness of the sentence, but I really admire Rickson for that.
So in researching your life, you seem to have a path of self-improvement and success, and you seem very focused on doing that. It doesn't seem like an accident. Where does that come from for you? Did you is that you have role models? Did you have somebody that inspired you?
I got the coaches. First, the school where I was training in Estevez, people train more than anybody else, probably not. Many hours more. And I had role models. I mean, everyone, my coach, people I've been trained with, they've all been trained more than me. So I want to train more. And there was a habit you build and you transmit to any other business you have in life. I was pretty successful businessman from age of 23 to 27 because of it. And then when I came to the United States, whatever success I got, there was only from this. When I was at the Playhouse West in LA, I study deeply and with a more desire than any other guy at school. Whether James Franco at another class, he was probably second who would put all himself into acting, but I did more because I needed to focus on my English, understanding of the English and American literature. And of course, I was at age 29. I mean, it was very tough to learn how to react, have emotions. For so many years, you learn how to hide your emotions in the business, criminal business in Russia. In the fights, you don't want to show anyone that you're tired or you're in pain or you just don't feel good. You gotta have a poker face when you fight. People can get too much information from you if you are just express your emotions. And that was very hard for me. The first 2 years, I was the worst student. And then suddenly, bump, I got the role with Robert De Niro, movie 15 Minutes, then another role, and all the students who were much younger, more talented, they were gone. And I'm still there. I've been working in the acting business for more than 20 years now. Most of my jobs, of course, been in Russia. Some of this job would be, if it was in American films, for some of the jobs I would get nominated for sure, because I know the quality of work and the difference. What's the good acting, what's bad acting, what's the great acting. I know the difference, but it's only because of the hard work. That's it. I don't think I'm that talent.
So do you feel like fighting and martial arts has kind of attributed to your success and the lessons learned in it? Because a lot of people ask me, I mean, I'm a brown belt in jiu-jitsu, in Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and a lot of people ask me, why do you have to train so much? You know, and I really think about it preparing for life. It seems like you feel the same way, or that life or fighting has set you up for successes in
Exactly.
future careers. That's how you feel?
When you move to any business, you find very quickly that the more time you spend learning your craft, trying to understand every single detail, trying to come up with something what other people don't do, it's another reason why I would win. I always look at myself, hey, I'm not the fastest, I'm not the strongest. Maybe I can let myself suffer and go through this longer than anybody else, but I'm not a talented guy. The only talent I have is I'm a workaholic, and I gotta use this, and also I gotta be different. I remember 1997, I think. It was a cartoon named Ant. I took my son, and he was only 2.5 years old, I think. And I told him, why is this cartoon? It's a great cartoon. See, this ant was like all other ants, but he said to himself, I'm different. I'll do it differently. I'll take a different path, and I'll get success. So I guess it worked for me, my son.
It seems like it did. Any fights that you'd want to have back? Any fights that you kind of have a regret about? Something that you'd, you know, you look back and you feel like you made a mistake in that you shouldn't have? Anything like that?
Three things I do regret, but it did help me in the long run. First, it's at your ultimate. I trained myself to literally break Dan Severn's right knee, the same knee that cut me in the forehead in a previous fight, and I want to break the knee. I didn't want to win the fight. I want to break the leg and say, hey, this is right what I've done. This is the punishment for your balance. And then was going to tap out. He told me after the fight, I wanted to tap out, and then you start changing your hold for the better grip. And I was able to escape. I took the split second, I started rolling. It was very painful, but I still able to escape. So it's the first lesson. Don't give people unnecessary pain. Just do what is minimum you have to do to win. Don't need to show off. Don't need to hurt someone. It's all gonna come back to you. So it was a great lesson, and I think I rather keep the history the way it is. I mean, if I won the fight with Dan Severn, who knows? I mean, how my life would be, and I guess after understanding why I lost, why I couldn't finish him, I got more human, just a human being. And that's the first. Second, don't trust people who's around you, no matter who are they. Are they from your country? Just don't trust them. And you also have to take care of yourself. Like we have a guy, Habib, and he doesn't take many fights, and he won't keep his record clean. Some people, or for example, Mayweather. Some people say, hey, you don't have guts, you are choosing when to fight, you take care of yourself too. But you know, it's your life, it's your health. You should think about it. I mean, in my case, I gave one stupid guy a word and I want to keep this. So when I came from Japan, after a winning fight with Sean Alvarez, oh no, I'm sorry. There was another. After I fought with who was Marco Ruas, second fight. So I broke my hand over his forehead. He broke actually his head over my forehead. So the fight, by the way, came to draw, but Federico Latenda, who's a friend of mine now, he want to make money, so he announced that he filmed Marco without audience in the darkness, just the lights on a ring, like he won. And before people got understanding that there was a draw, that I controlled the fight, and I was paid to fight on the ground only for 1 minute, and at the end of the fight, he was able to sell probably most of his videos. He made a lot of money. Anyways, in 7 days, I'm taking a fight with Renzo Gracie. And the reason why I took this fight, because I had a manager who was a drug addict. He was on cocaine. And I couldn't understand why his eyes are so red, why his behavior is so strange, why he was so impulsive, why he gets angry so quickly, and starts saying, hey, Oleg, we promise to take the fight, we'll have to do this, otherwise we're gonna have sanctions, there's no way you can get into Hollywood, we gotta take this fight. And I say, you know what, something's wrong with my head. And actually head too. And the guy who put the main promoter, the guy who put the money, he was a doctor. He checked my hand, he said, it's okay. And later, I took x-ray and it was broken. So he lied to me because he knew he was going to lose a lot of money. I never sued him. I never even thought about it. Yeah, and here the two promoters, Tom and some another guy, two freaks. So they hired a manager in Miami for one fighter who should not be in the show, but they took the guy in the show so this manager could be next to us. And this manager put sleeping pills in a tea, and he said 2 hours before the fight, he took all the Russian team samba. One was a taxi driver, another guy was a massage guy. So none of them did samba except me. And we got this tea, and everyone's coming to me, oh, look, why I'm so sleepy? Is it always like this before the fight? Because I'm fighting for the first time in my life. And I told him, yeah, don't worry about it. You'll be doing okay. It's okay. It's normal. But it's not normal. I was feeling sleepy myself. So the whole team was basically poisoned. And instead of doing something, I was like, hey, I give the word, I gotta fight, and maybe I feel that something is wrong, but I feel like, hey, I'm a man, I gotta do this. Mm-hmm. It's the way in life, I gotta go through this, I'm strong enough, I will figure later, after I win, what's gonna happen. And that's what happened. You know, you couldn't control the leg, your arm couldn't get the grip on the leg. There was no power in the leg, and you focus on getting grip, and you know missing something which you wouldn't miss in a normal situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then second fight again, this freak show by my manager. We gotta take the fight. I'm winning Sean Alvarez in Brazil. I'm doing great, and I got some bunch of offers, and I'm going for the first fight. And I celebrated. I mean, I had like a bunch of Brazilian girls. We probably whole week were just having fun, and guy was getting cash under the table from the promoters, and everybody knew about. And the Japanese promoters also, as those two guys pay him $3,000, and those $3,000 was enough. So he was like a drama queen, and convinced me to take the fight in Japan in 1 week. I'm going to fight Gary Goodrich, who was not my level, but at the situation where I was having fun with Brazilian girls and winning fight in flying all over the world. So I shouldn't. 3 days I'm staying at the airport because I got sick, and then on the fourth day, I finally get the visa, and I have to go fight. So it was very silly. I mean, I should manage myself, I guess. But I trust people. I thought, hey, I'm in the United States. I mean, this guy should know more than I do. But I mean, how they would know more than I do? I was a businessman in Russia. I did very well. And how does the people who never had experience like me, the only difference, they would speak English and they would have a English education, American education, and knew that you got to check.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Anywhere to hire the strong lawyer. That's only the difference.
Right. So as your career progressed, you started to learn a little bit more striking, right? Pretty much like everybody at the time. How did that come to be?
No. My career didn't progress. I stopped. I finished the fighting, and playing. I was. Yeah, somehow I end up in a wild card gym. I don't remember how it happened, but I end up in a wild card gym.
Mm-hmm.
I think I got an offer to fight in some boxing championship, like MMA guys fighting boxing. It was good money, and I had a weak opponent, some wrestling guys, power lifter. So, and I decided to get new craft down. So for 6 months, I was doing boxing. I didn't do anything else. I started as a young boxer. I continue as an older boxer, and then I spar with the top guys, like James Toney, like Vladimir Klitschko, Vitaly Klitschko. I spar with everyone, but altogether it took me probably 4 years to get my boxing down, so I could feel confident. Even when I train in Encino, I had a school, Action Tarzana, I would have 40 people, 39 people on the mat, and one guy sparring with me in the ring. So I would spar with all 40 people while the session goes. And it was not. I mean, it was great. It was fun. Even my body had changed. I got skinnier. I got abs finally. My grappling, of course, didn't grow at that time, but boxing was just from the bottom to the top in less than a year. Sean Alvarez expected that I'm going to take him on the ground when I fought in Brazil in the show, that famous, notorious show where there was gunshots and when jiu-jitsu guys fought with a luta libre guy,
Yeah.
So they have an animosity. I mean, they hate each other. It was 1987, I believe. And so I won the guy in less than 40 seconds. It was a perfect way. It was a count punch, and guys drag you, and boom, 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 and I'm done. So I don't think if the Sean Alvarez would take the fight on the ground, I don't think I would win because he was good. I mean, he won at Abu Dhabi 2 times after in the heavyweights. I don't think I could handle him on the ground. But he didn't expect me to be good with my hands.
How about watching fights today? You see any mistakes being made or anything guys should do differently when you're watching?
Mostly mistakes people do in tactics. Like let's say that last fight we had uh, Tony and what's his name? Getty. Yeah.
With the last UFC fight?
Last week, yeah. I'm sorry, I forgot his
Let me
name.
look it up. Let me look it up. It was the main event?
Main event, yeah. Tony
Ferguson.
Tony Ferguson, and who was fighting?
Justin Gaethje.
Justin Gage, yeah. So Justin Gage did a great job. He was very focused, didn't do anything extra. He paced himself just right. Although he had a mistake at the second round, but he paced himself that at the 5th round he could get some more and a win. But Tony Ferguson, at the age 36, when your body doesn't really listen to you like before, it's your body starts changing rapidly at the age of 29. Then at 32, 34, it feels horrible. It feels it's the biggest change probably. Even less change you feel when you're 39 or 42 or 44 or 47. It's less change, but that time you just suddenly bumps. You're not the same person. And Tony was so he didn't have a game plan. He didn't pace himself right. So he was too fancy for his age. If this fight took place 4 years before it, definitely he could win. But that was not the way to fight. Plus, every fancy kick or punch he had didn't have power behind. So I looked at him like 37, 34, 36 years. You gotta have brain. You gotta win because you got some knowledges like George Foreman, for example, when he fought Marco Moore. He just pace it. With no rush, he followed his game plan. He got the right angle, one punch in the chin, done. That's it. So that's how you should fight. You gotta go exactly with your plan. But Tony didn't have plan. We have some other talk about other fights. I mean, it's mostly if I see mistakes, it's the same mistakes. But these days, because the rules had changed, grapplers have to do stand-up striking,
Right.
and they're not great strikers. I don't like to watch people do striking if they're great grapplers. I like to see the quality work, what they really know. Because Genry Cejudo, for example, I don't care how he kick, how he punch. He's not a great striker, anyways. He can't be a great striker. He's a great wrestler. I want to see him wrestle.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. I don't think you're alone in that thinking. What about Sambo today? Is in the age of the internet, obviously you have a lot of people putting out, at least in jiu-jitsu, a lot of instructionals, a lot of DVDs. What's a good Sambo instructional people can go to learn nowadays?
Mm, I've seen some few guys who lives in Europe, and I think one in America. They've shown some stuff. Maybe they go after the fancy moves instead of understanding how to make this right, to make it work.
Hmm.
For example, when I teach, the difference between when I was teaching 25 years ago and now, I don't give much now. I let people understand the fundamentals so you can teach yourself. And then, of course, I'll do at the end some presentation, just show them how to create your own moves, how to fix your own problems you had. Uh, so I do less technique when I train right now, but everyone has something to learn. Before I was shown like a couple hundred moves, and none of them people could do. The knowledge is something you have to share. You can't keep them
Hmm.
with yourself. After go after you, they have to still spread around the globe.
Right.
And before, I think I was too. I did too much of a show when I was teaching, because I want to get more people. I want to get a bigger seminar, make more money. And that, so now I'm rich enough to teach right.
Okay.
That's the sentence.
That sounds good. So, all right. Do you have any kind of advice to younger grapplers nowadays so that we could, so that you can kind of direct them? If you were, let's say, if you had a new grappler come to you, what kind of advice would you give them as far as how to go about their journey?
You got to first look at him. If he can be honest to himself, you got to be honest to him. You got to look at him. You got to see what God has given to him, because everyone is different.
Interesting.
And yes, you got to see what's natural for a person, what's been given to him. And you got to work on those skills, get them to the top level so the guy could even win a world championship. But he couldn't be great at everything. He couldn't be even good at everything. But he could hide his weaknesses. And there is always a way to hide it. There is always a way to get good defense, so there is no way somebody can even have a little idea about your weaknesses. And that's it, just the honesty to yourself and working on something people don't like. Like at my early days, I remember coming to schools from like anywhere from Arizona to Idaho or Massachusetts. People, not everyone, but maybe like 25%, they would practice triangle. And I say, look at your legs. You got short legs, they're thick, strong legs. You're not going to be able to do triangle. There's no way. I mean, it's not your move. This is your move. This is your move. This is your move as well. But triangle is something you just have to know how to not to get in. I mean, and it's the great way to start your stuff. Let people think that you can lose by triangle, and then make a combination and get you to your thing. Just to be different. Why you guys all want to be in the same mold? And it's boring.
Mm.
And of course, if everyone learning how to defend triangle, you're not going to be able to get it, because if everyone is great at the defense, how can you succeed in this? You got to work 8-10 hours a day. You got to have a different legs. You got to have different body structure. You got to be like a Spider-Man physically, or
Right.
long legs and flexibility. You're not like that. Or maybe even if you are like that, I mean, why you want to always fight, try to go through great defense? How about change something in this move? Change something. Maybe come up with different combination. Let's say from triangle to 10 different combinations from there. Show triangle, people start defending, then you go for this. I mean, maybe it's better than just keep doing triangle, because you're going to spend all of your life, you're still not going to be a world champ. You got to find the easy path. You got to find a way, find the path that nobody can go through, nobody can resist, nobody had any knowledge about. Like with leg locks, I was not the best leg lock specialist at my school. I was mostly doing chokes or arm locks. I was actually much better with the arm locks. And leg locks, I'm coming to the United States. No one has any idea about proper leg locks. I was teaching Ken Shamrock, for example, my leg locks. He still doesn't want to remember. The only good student was Frank Shamrock. And I believe he was unbeaten for a few years.
Mm-hmm.
So Frank was a good student, actually. And I remember I couldn't finish him for 8 minutes. And I told him, hey, man, you're going to be a world champ. I mean, nobody from look, so many people here. None of them can last more than a minute with me. And you are 8 minutes. I didn't know how to finish. I try everything, and only because of fatigue, he was actually, I got him, and I got him, I think, also with leg locks, because he didn't know the defense. But if you understand the defense properly, if you defend yourself properly, you understand that you've got to come up with your own moves. I mean, you can be unbeatable, and Frank was unbeatable. The only reason why he's in the hall, he is not in the Hall of Fame, because he's the kind of guy that he has his own mind. He went through hell. He was in prison. He was, and when you get somebody like Dana White can't dictate him what to do.
Right.
Frank is independent, so that's the only reason why he's not in the Hall of Fame, for example.
Did you find it difficult to go from training in the gi to training without the gi when you came to America?
Yes, it was the main problem for me, because let's say if Dan Severn was in the gi, 30 seconds.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it took me 2 months before I adjusted my moves for no gi competition. I came up with certain tricks, but it was very tough to me. I was reaching for the gi every time I fight. So it took me altogether. It probably took me 6 months to adjust myself completely to work without the gi.
I'm assuming you worked a little bit about the overhook in the guard kind of thing, or controlling the head. Anything in particular?
Yeah, with the chokes, guillotine, leg locks, arm locks, it's all different idea. It's all different. You gotta come up with a different stuff. You gotta work more on the joints. You gotta control more. You gotta change your control. You gotta remove some fancy moves from your arsenal, because it doesn't work just to waste your energy.
So it seems in your approach, you were looking for your own fixes to the problem. And, to be honest, today, I feel like there's a lot of information out there. There's thousands of instructionals, and the new guys, or even not the new guys, they're just looking for another instructional to teach them. Have you identified that problem? Because a lot of people aren't independently thinking about how they can adjust a move for their body size and for their style. They're looking for some source of information to tell them what to work on. Have you seen that at all?
I didn't see it. I mean, at my time, I never had that problem, because we didn't have teachers who would have any knowledge to help.
Got it. Yeah. So you had no choice.
Yeah, all the jiu-jitsu guys, they come from Brazil, and feels like they grapple no gi for the first time.
Right.
So, yeah. With the gi, it was a completely different story. It was actually I remember one guy was doing really good. His name was Liboria. We fought. He was the third guy, I think, in a row. I was at Carson Gracie's place, helping guys to train for Universal Combat or something. And then I remember at San Jose, I met a guy named Nino. He was a small guy, but I couldn't get leg lock. I could put on anybody. I remember everybody was going to eat. There was a lunch break, and we were just continuing going like 30 minutes. And somebody said, "Hey guys, that's it, done. Let's go eat." And I couldn't do anything, and there was not much action, but for 40 minutes, maybe an hour. And the guy was so small. I mean, he was probably 175, 180 pounds. I was at 215 at the time. So when it comes to gi, when the people are knowledgeable, you can go for a long time.
I hear you.
Yeah, we do gi. First, I didn't know what to do with Dan Severn. At UFC number 5, he was so slippery.
Hey, listen, I appreciate you giving me the time today. I know you got to run out to go play some soccer tonight, but just to let you know, I grew up hearing your name. My father was a wrestler. He showed me the UFCs for the first time, so I've been watching you for, since I was a kid. So this is a dream come true having you as one of my first interviews for my Instagram page. Hey, thanks a lot, Oleg.
Thanks again.